Okay, I'm getting tired of hearing AI is going to steal your job. Like, everyone's freaking out about this. But you know what I found when I actually looked at the data? AI is creating way more jobs than it's taking away. The World Economic Forum just published their Future of Jobs report, and tech jobs are literally exploding right now. We're talking about positions that pay $160,000, $200,000, sometimes over $250,000 a year. But here's what's crazy. Most people have no clue how to spot an opportunity and transition to a new role. Everyone's just guessing. So I called in some experts from MentorCruise. Every single day they work with people who are transitioning into these roles and actually landing them. We're going to break down the 5 tech jobs that are going to be huge for the next 10 years. And if we haven't met, hi, my name's Tom. Let's dive in. Number 1, AI and machine learning specialists. AI and machine learning roles are exploding right now, and they're not going anywhere. In your opinion, what makes these roles so in demand right now?
So for AI in particular, it's almost every industry, every function, every role is trying to figure out how AI can do what we do better, faster, more innovative. So it's pretty ubiquitous that everyone is trying to figure out how to apply and use it, which means there's more and more people trying to build AI solutions where you're going to need to have that AI skill set to jump in and be able to build those solutions. So it's just gonna be, a skill in demand for, a long time. It's like how the internet started, right? That became a very hot area. And how do you build websites and e-commerce and things of that nature? And it's still important today, even 20, 30 years later. This is gonna be one of those skills that's gonna be around for a while.
Do you have any stories of anyone you've worked with to help transition into one of these roles, or even maybe upgrade their current skill set into one of these roles?
I've had a handful of clients who have come from more of a data analyst role or engineering in other areas. And so the key has been for them to learn machine learning, learning Python, learning very specific technologies, even getting certified in certain technologies, having example projects that they've done, even if they haven't done them, because you're going to need to get hands-on experience no matter what to be able to break into these opportunities.
The salaries are serious. Machine learning engineers average around 160K, computer vision engineers around 127K, and deep learning specialists can average over 150K. Do you have any particular kind of success stories or anyone that comes to mind that kind of made the leap maybe from the analyst towards something bigger?
So I do have an example of a professional who actually leaped, and this is interesting for people who might be in more academia, who actually leaped from academic research into becoming an AI expert. And it was just after doing some work for government agencies, institutions, this person was able to, again, see the opportunity in terms of the skill set, what she brings to the table in terms of how she questions things, how she solves problems, and just started to look at how to use other technologies to assist her in becoming the AI machine learning expert. So researchers, academics who are in more of an analyst kind of role, this is an opportunity for you to have a path to break into corporate, as an example.
If you're serious about future-proofing your career, the secret isn't just knowing what jobs are hot, it's having someone in your corner to help you land one. MentorCruise gives you access to experienced professionals who can help you map your own path to these high-demand roles. Go to mentorcruise.com to learn more. Number 2, cloud architects. Cloud is the backbone of modern business. That's why demand for cloud architects is sky high. Companies need people who can design secure, reliable systems that keep them running. The average salary for a cloud architect is over $200K, and demand for these roles is expected to grow by over 20% through 2030. Do you have any recommendations for anyone who is trying to transition into this role?
So I would say the cloud architect is essentially a super senior DevOps engineer who is now able to answer more than just how do we do this, is in terms of why should we do it this way? And I think that's the important question for a cloud architect to answer. The cloud architect is often the point of ultimate escalation for all, cloud issues, for any issues that the engineering team can't solve. And also seeing how, other people on your team or other environments have that same kind of setup allows you to determine what is the best way to do things. What builds the cloud architect is essentially just building on that certification path that came with the DevOps engineer. So for example, One is a DevOps engineer may have an associate level AWS certification. I would recommend going up to the professional certification. And I think that the ultimate actual certification for a cloud architect is the AWS Solutions Architect Professional.
Number 3, cybersecurity engineers. Cybersecurity is not an option, it's survival. Companies can't just keep their own systems safe, they also have to prove it to customers, partners, and regulators. Information security analysts at around 140K, while network security engineers average nearly 150K. Why is cybersecurity so critical today?
Because it's on the mind of every board member, every CEO, every business leader out there. Everyone is aware of the risk that happens when there is a cybersecurity incident and how that can ultimately impact the bottom line in terms of revenue. So in any modern organization, that's going to be a top of mind concern. And of course, now in order to even sell software or other products to other companies, one has to go through a security review process. So this is something that, we call supply chain security, which has become very critical. So in order for small and large companies to succeed and be able to market and sell their product, they have to be able to address cybersecurity well and prove that to their partners. So I think that's going to continue to create demand in the field and has no chance of letting down anytime soon.
I know you've worked a lot in this particular field. What kind of skills do people need to break into this? And do you have any stories of people who've successfully transitioned into this role?
Yeah. So this one sometimes can get harder to break into because you can't just go build an app to show you've got cybersecurity experience. So what I see a lot of people trying to break in is more around, yes, their certifications, but trying to get into boot camps where the people running the boot camp have an actual environment to practice things like penetration testing, right? They're doing real world scenarios of what could happen in terms of an attack for you to get the hands-on experience, which you're not going to be able to do on your own versus trying to dabble and learn Python and building an AI project. So you'll probably want to look for either classes, classroom setting, hands-on labs, either within a certification or even outside, just to give you that hands-on experience.
Are there any kind of common misconceptions you find around cybersecurity, I guess particularly from people who haven't spent much time in the field or are looking to enter the field?
Yeah, I think that the biggest misconception I find, and that especially junior level people, come talking about, the role of the cybersecurity person is to secure the enterprise or the business from all threats. However, cybersecurity is always part of a business. So ultimately, the goal of cybersecurity is actually to serve the business needs and to decrease risk into the acceptable threshold of that business.
Number 4, DevOps engineers. You don't always see the work of a DevOps engineer, but you'll notice if it's missing. They're the ones who make sure software gets from code to customer without outages or bottlenecks. DevOps engineers average 145K per year with expected job growth of 17% over the next 8 years. There are 2 main pathways into DevOps, and both eventually converge. One is from IT, where system or network admins build on their infrastructure knowledge and move into automation and cloud. And the other is from software engineering, where developers expand beyond code into scripting, databases, and pipelines. And sometimes the best way to switch isn't another certification, it's learning by osmosis. One IT pro spent months learning from his DevOps colleagues, picking up their workflows and skills on the side. By the time he interviewed for a DevOps position, he could point to real-world scenarios he learned hands-on, and he landed the role. To make the leap, focus on 3 things: automation and tools, CI/CD pipelines, infrastructure as code, and frameworks like Terraform, containerization and cloud. Docker, Kubernetes, and AWS certifications are industry benchmarks. Scripting, Python and Shell scripting for automation and APIs, and collaboration. DevOps is a team sport. The best engineers balance competing priorities across product, engineering, and ops. Have you actually worked with anyone or guided anyone through a transition into DevOps? And what kind of learning path would you recommend here?
I've seen a lot of people, especially recently, are more leaning into AI and cybersecurity. This is more I've seen as a transition that occurred a few years ago. Not saying it's still not important, because obviously everything is either in the cloud or continuing to go to the cloud. So I think now there's just more opportunity for, as long as you're in an organization where maybe you've already started as a sysadmin, to move into more of the DevOps, getting the training you need, need, getting certifications on the different platforms, learning containerization. So those are the kinds of things that you're going to want to learn. But this is something this is a little more structured and is in place, I think, in corporations as well, and being able to grow those skill sets a bit more readily than, say, like, there's much more demand I see right now for cybersecurity and for AI, where we just can't keep up with growing the talent that's needed for these opportunities.
Number 5, data scientists. Data scientists don't just analyze data, they turn it into insight, prediction, and growth. That's why demand for them keeps climbing.
Hi everyone, and thanks Tom for inviting me to chat today. I'm a data scientist. I've been working in the field for over 10 years now. My role is helping product managers make informed decisions. So I use data to discover insights, find causality in user behavior, to see we can optimize and enhance and bring out those user behavior even more to increase product growth. So that involves using statistics, experimental design, and typical statistical analyses methods.
Salaries for data scientists average over $160K across industries. Many people sidestep into data science from roles that already overlap with data. Business analysts, PMs, and program managers. Can you share any stories about anyone who has transitioned into this role?
One of my earliest mentees, he was a program manager. He was able to transition to a data scientist late last year, and it was such an accomplishment for him. I was so happy. I think the key thing that got him there was because he was doing a master's degree in data science. But I asked him, why are you looking for a mentor? You're already doing your master's degree. And he said, I'm just looking for more feedback, because in school you have your professors, but you don't get that individual one-on-one feedback. So I found that it was very mature of him to seek a mentor for that. And through our sessions, we've practiced business case studies, worked on projects, and did a lot of mock interviews. And he was always looking for feedback and trying to improve his answer. So that was a good quality of his, that he was always trying to do better. And it paid off.
And do you have any advice for anyone who is trying to transition into this role?
There's lots of pathways to becoming a data scientist. You can self-learn, you can go to school and do a degree, or you can do a boot camp. But I guess doing a master's degree, it gives you a bit of clout because you have that credential from a university. So that gives you a bit of an advantage over maybe self-learning. If you're going to do a self-learning path, you have to provide proof, experience that you know how to employ these methods.
What advice would you have to anyone who's just overwhelmed with all the potential options they have in front of them? How would you help them through that?
I would say the first thing to really focus on is ask yourself deeply, which one of these tracks really speaks to my skill set? So, for example, someone who is more verbal, and let's say you got a better score in the SAT and the verbal part, and you've done well in English class, but not so well in math. Well, in that area, there's governance, risk, and compliance, GRC, which is often the path that leads up to becoming a CISO or security director, etc. A lot of that work is cross-functional. It deals with legal, deals with product, it deals with policy, and so forth. So a lot of that leverages both logic skills and verbal skills, which can be very different than that of people on other tracks. For example, software development and networking, which is a lot more both logic and mathematical. So if you find yourself not so much wanting to write essays, but having more fun, figuring out math formulas and or doing coding, then perhaps, the software development track makes sense for you, or perhaps the DevOps track makes sense for you. If you like nuts and bolts things, figuring out how things work, and troubleshooting, then maybe the network path makes sense for you. So really, I'd say it's about figuring out which path is going to keep you interested and working on kind of basic exercises or kind of entry-level, courses. Figure out which one you really gravitate towards the most. And I'd say for most people, that's going to be the track, because that's the one that's going to hold your interest and that you're going to keep moving forward on, rather than do just because you think this is a good, opportunity here, but ultimately not want to continue.
Technology isn't slowing down. While everyone else worries about AI taking jobs, smart people are getting ready for the new roles. If you want help transitioning into any of these roles, check out MentorCruise.com. Our mentors have helped thousands of professionals make these career changes. If you're still confused about all this AI narrative, I highly recommend watching our video on how to improve your day-to-day work with AI.